In 2002, former naval officer Gavin Menzies published a book entitled 1421, The Year China Discovered the World, in which he made remarkable claims about the voyages of Zheng He, a Chinese Muslim eunuch who led a series of naval expeditions in Asia under the Yǒnglè emperor of the Ming Dynasty. Although Zheng He was a genuine historical figure, and his expeditions in Asia are well documented, Menzies made many extraordinary claims about his achievements, such as his supposed discovery of North America, Australia, and Antarctica, for which he had little or no evidence. Three of Menzies' claims in particular have become very well known and widespread. 1. The fleet's ships were up to 480 feet long. 2. Zheng He circumnavigated the Earth. 3. The voyage was motivated by peaceful diplomacy. These claims have all been extensively discredited in mainstream scholarship. Following ancient Chinese records, Menzies claimed Zheng He's largest ships were up to 480 feet long, or 146 meters. However, these dimensions were already being challenged by Chinese scholars in the mid-20th century, and since then, various historians and naval scholars have pointed out the lack of textual and archaeological evidence for pre-modern Chinese ships of this size. Ship lengths recorded in the Chinese texts are inconsistent and sometimes use measurement units which are unknown or unclear. In 2020, historian Sallly compared the huge treasure ship dimensions recorded in the 18th century Chinese text History of Ming with those of actual ships built as recorded in the 16th century Longjiang Shipyard Treatise, and concluded that the very large treasure ship dimensions were, quote, fictional ships, end quote. This is the standard view in mainstream scholarship. Menzies claimed that Zheng He circumnavigated the Earth on the basis of his own interpretation of various ancient maps, charts, and historical artifacts has been rejected firmly by the scholarly consensus, of which these are just a few representative samples. Historian Robert Finlay explains the various ways in which Menzies has misunderstood or misrepresented the maps he has read. Although Menzies appealed to a supposedly 18th century Chinese map, which he claimed was a copy of an original made in 1418, historian Jeff Wade's analysis of the map concluded it is, quote, a modern fake, end quote. In a detailed 50-page paper, anthropologist Wim van Binsbergen examined and rejected Menzies' claims of circumnavigation, in particular his supposed evidence for Zheng He's landing in Africa. Van Binsbergen concluded that Menzies' work is, quote, unmistakably a work of fiction, ineffectively disguised as a work of scholarship, end quote. In an extensive analysis of Menzies' evidence for Zheng He's circumnavigation of the Earth, historian and political scientist Stephen Goodman dismisses Menzies' entire book with the observation that it, quote, has all the ingredients of a rattling good contemporary conspiracy, end quote. Contrary to Menzies, Zheng He was not a peaceful diplomat. Wherever his ships landed, he demanded the local rulers submit to the authority of the Ming Dynasty and become a tributary state, paying regular taxes as evidence of their inferior status. Zheng He enforced this demand with his soldiers and occasionally led military interventions to overturn local rulers or take sides in regional conflicts, killing thousands in the process. Historian Jeff Wade says Zheng He's voyages were acts of aggressive expansion and attempts to dominate trade routes, characterizing the voyages as proto-colonialism. Historian Zachary Reddick likewise writes, quote, the voyages were neither peaceful nor explorative ventures, end quote, adding the real aim was, quote, to spread Ming imperial dominance and influence through the immediate region and eventually the larger world, end quote. Historian Tansen Sen examines Zheng He's military inventions in the Malabar coast, Sri Lanka, and Bengal, and concludes the voyages were not diplomatic, but part of the Ming Dynasty's, quote, aim to establish hegemony over all the known world under the heaven, end quote. In 2008, Menzies wrote another book claiming a 1431 Chinese voyage to Italy brought important knowledge which started the Renaissance. Like his previous book, this book has also been widely rejected by scholars. Historian Jonathan Lux comments, quote, both books are packed with wild assertions, specious assumptions, and outright misinformation. They have, accordingly, been laughed out of the room by specialist researchers, end quote. Finally, I'd like to thank my generous patrons, Elias Asfig, Alexander Curzon, Shawnee Young, Andy Chaos, TBLTP, Niels Rethlin, Matthew Simmerall, Thomas Leonard, Ben Lindquist, John Larkin, Ezekiel Stacey, Love You More, Noah French, Aaron Johnson, Emily Kugler, A. David Johnson, B. The Heretic, Sean M., Waymore Odhi, Aubrey Vaughan, and Magic Turtle. Thank you so much for your support, and please contact me if I ever pronounce your name incorrectly.